most disturbing videos on the internet today. Let's dive in.
It's the photo that's become a symbol of hope amid LA's devastating wildfires. This Malibu neighborhood was just about entirely wiped out, yet amid the rubble, a lone bright blue Volkswagen van from the 1970s somehow remains virtually untouched. The van belongs to surfboard designer Megan Weintraub, who was surfing with friends in Malibu just before the fire laid waste to the county. Megan parked the 1977 VW Type 2 van on the side of the road, little realizing the horror that was about to hit. Look at the photo. Nearly everything is reduced to rubble, except for that disco-era van. And here is the van today, parked in the exact same spot where Megan left it when she heeded the order to evacuate. She can't come back for it yet because the neighborhood is still closed to the public. We spoke with Megan and her friend, Preston Martin, who was with Megan when they went surfing.
One of my neighbors sent me the photo, like, Megan, is that your blue bus? And I'm like, oh, I don't know how it survived. And it was like the light in the darkness of all this insanity.
To have a little glimmer of hope of this bright blue VW bus against the backdrop of charred houses it's sad and it's scary, but it's also beautiful.
Bright blue vehicle survived? Yeah, me and you are thinking the exact same thing.
This one I've never seen before. Actual frozen waves, frozen ripples. That is completely insane. I'm kind of wondering how a lake even freezes like this. Wouldn't it just freeze still every time? But obviously this footage doesn't lie. It must have just been a severe drop in temperature or something of that nature. Very cool place. Don't go ice skating there though, but it's a 4 out of 5. This one I've never seen before.
Definitely don't try going ice skating on this. How cool is that? Frozen waves? It would be like the temperature had to hit it in like an instant.
They don't want you to know about this. This is one of the most mysterious and controversial military missions in history. Right after World War II, the United States launched an expedition to build a research base in Antarctica. But this is where their story starts to break down. The expedition was led by an Admiral Byrd, and he led a fleet of 13 ships, 33 aircrafts, and 4,700 men. An unusually large force for a so-called peaceful research mission. Despite being planned for 6 months, the operation was abruptly cut short after just 8 weeks. So, what happened exactly? There are many documents outlining that the US was investigating German World War II bases in Antarctica. The Germans had established a fully functional base called Base 211, also known as New Berlin. At this location, the Germans had conducted research on advanced technologies and spacecraft such as the Haunebu, but it gets even crazier. According to Admiral Byrd's diary and accounts from his crew, on approach to New Berlin, they encountered a flying disc which guided them towards an opening. The opening led to a highly advanced underground civilization, where he met beings far superior in technology. Byrd claimed that the Germans and these beings were working together, and the consensus is that they are still operational today. This is now known as Operation High Jump. They don't want you to know about this.
It sounds like he found an opening to Agartha. Some people call it Hollow Earth. We all seen it in Kong vs. Godzilla.
When we got to this high point, I was taking video camera, and I had actually turned to the north, which just kind of slopes down. And right there was something that stuck out like a sore thumb, especially with jungle terrain, things like that. Vegetation, very green stuff, was something that stuck out so well. It's always going to be basically imprisoned in my mind for the rest of my life, and it has been for 14 years, was something that was rotating, and it was transitioning between colors like a light matte gray as well as a dark matte black. So in between, that's what it kept, and it was very smooth. We had all looked at each other as we got online, and we decided to investigate. The further thing I want to say is that I actually took pictures and video of this before we actually trucked down. We had a dump pouch where we basically, if we expend ammunition, we want to retain our magazines, so we put those there. So I dropped my camera in there, and we decided to go down. We didn't have any communications, which was weird, and that was a very odd thing, and it's something that either could have been good that we didn't, or it could have been something that could have been very bad. And it just however you want to look at that. Once we got down this slope, we were approximately 150 meters away from this craft. When we all got to the point where we could see it, just like behind here, again, Mr. Schratt, phenomenal job. You can see that the craft here actually had was roughly about 300 feet. And the reason why I know this is because You could fit 3 of the helicopters that we flew in on underneath this craft. It was rotating a clockwise motion. The panels here that you see, the black ones, at least 3 of them, was like a Vanta black, very dark. I have no idea what that was. On the very top, there was like a pyramid structure that you could see the shadowing of it, which would elicit that was a pyramid structure. And it had an audible hum to it, kind of like a guitar amp if you were to unplug that, or like a transformer. It's very audible. If I was to hear that sound again, I could tell you, okay, it's probably this thing or something similar to that. It's very distinct. And the way that it was floating, which was about 10 or 15, 20 feet off the ground, it was kind of a very eerie thing to see because I've never seen anything like that in my life. As they got up there, like I said, I was going back and forth. These guys are still searching our stuff. They're still, pointing their weapons at us. And after the last 2 trucks that I saw that actually got onto that platform unloaded, they had 4 guys in each truck that would unload everything. However they did it, I can't tell you because, again, I was focused on this as well. And these trucks drove off. As that happened, this platform actually rose up off the ground itself. The top part of the craft actually met it down in the middle like this, and it formed into one solid piece. It floated right above the tree line. As soon as it was able to break that tree line, it actually had on the corners of each of these, which was an octagonal shape craft, by the way, on each corner it emanated a light. It was either red, yellow, green, or blue. Only those 4 colors I can distinctly remember. It didn't make any additional high-pitched sounds when it rose up. Once it got past that tree line, it shot over to the left, basically where the ocean was, at so fast, I would estimate probably 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles an hour instantaneous like that. There was no rotor wash, no exhaust that would disturb the trees, vegetation. The coconuts that were on these trees were not even touched. It produced no sonic boom. This thing was so fast. When we got...
My question is what were they loading onto that UFO? What would the UFO need from us? If you enjoy this type of content, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button because we do this every single day, and I'd love to see you tomorrow.
Abuna Yamatagu is a monolithic church located in the Tigray region, Ethiopia. It is situated at a height of 2,580 meters. Its entrance is highlighted by a white circle and has to be climbed on foot to reach. It is notable for its wall paintings dating back to the 5th century.
I feel like to make a temple that high and difficult to get to means they were hiding from something. But from what exactly? This couldn't have been done by hand. The precision, there's no way.
The iconic, famous Chicago Water Tower, and all over. They really seem to know how to build everything with such elegance. But just take a look at some of these structures they tell us are just water towers. With all that old world antiquitech, and the empty tops of many of these towers, looking like a perfect mooring station for those airships. The airships, of course, being a big reason why we have these whited out skies and all the pictures of the old world we get. But of course, as beautiful as these water towers are, alone just the structures, we let most of them just fall to ruin. And of course, we build nothing close to this today. Just big, ugly metal eyesores. Nothing close to what you see here. Just look at the presence of some of these structures. The copper dome towers with the antennas, all the antiquitech for free energy. Left to rot, hidden in plain sight. Just shells of what they used to be. Left to rust and fall apart. This water tower was from Detroit. Sad how much was lost. But truth will prevail, friends. Question everything. Until next time.
How beautiful it must have been to pull up in your airship and get charged up by one of those mooring stations.
The staircases of Persepolis, located in present-day Iran, are among the most remarkable architectural features of the ancient Achaemenid capital. Built under the reign of Darius I and his successors, these grand staircases were designed to lead visitors up to the majestic terraces of Persepolis, where the royal palaces and ceremonial buildings stood.
You want a real rabbit hole? We're going to Turkey. Turkey has some of the wildest stuff on the planet, hands down. Who makes it? Look at this. This is Eagle Castle. I'm probably butchering that name, but does that not look like a pillar to you? Like a giant pillar? That's huge. Those are people. Look at the boat. There's a rock-cut monastery that you can go inside, just like the one in Ethiopia. When you go inside this one, it's decorated head to toe like a cathedral. Turkey is ancient. We have megalithic architecture and rock-cut temples in Sorna, the city of oracles, and the ancient theater of Side rivals the Colosseum in Rome. It's insane. Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe are also in Turkey. These two push civilization back 5,000 years from what we thought. They were buried really fast, like something was happening outside. The fact that every ancient culture has a flood myth would make Derinkuyu make sense. It's an 8-story underground city with locking doors, water access, and air vents. 20,000 people can live in this city, and it is connected by a 5-mile-long tunnel to Kemakli, another underground city, forming a network of over 200 underground cities in Turkey. Its next-door neighbor, Armenia, has a megalithic avenue similar to Karnak in France, making this whole area the most mysterious thing I've ever seen. Have fun with that rabbit hole.
I feel like there's nothing actually factual about megalithic sites. They're all just based on hypothesis. What really did happen?
Skull Rock, a majestic granite monolith, towers above the ocean in Wilson's Promontory Marine National Park in Australia. The sheer cliffs, over 100 meters tall, plunge into the sea, forming a massive cavern that could almost swallow the Sydney Opera House. The natural amphitheater's grandeur is awe-inspiring, inviting the imagination to envision an epic opera performance within its walls.
There's no way Skull Rock is actually real. Let me type it in real quick. Wow, it is real. What if this actually is some type of skull from an ancient creature? Shout out to Roger at Mud Fossils.
I've had Indians come to me and tell me that the records are on big crystals. Now, what does a little crystal chip, computer chip, consist of? You put it in a computer, and it holds 50 books.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Well, the Indians are now saying that these computer concept, the ancient civilization already had that.
Huh.
And it was all lost. And we're just getting back to where we were before the destruction. If these records aren't on, in fact, crystals, then we got eons of time. And those crystals, according to Indian legend, you cannot get by the crystals because they have such powerful energy coming off of them. I've had Indians come to me and tell me,
those tablets did look mysterious. I wonder what the true origin of those were.
These are some of the oldest silver rings in our collection, dating back to the Seljuk dynasty, which is a high medieval Turco-Persian empire that emerged in the 11th century, known for the scientific advancements and the cultural and material prosperity that it brought along. The fact that these rings from the 12th century have survived and are durable enough to still be worn today is something that blows my mind.
Very cool rings. It looks like that right one might have been through a little bit of battle.
I honestly don't know why the birds are all over his head, but I can tell you this. There are no birds anywhere else. Not on the rest of his body, not on the pyramids, nowhere around there. They are all just sitting on his head. So, you come up with...
Ooh, this is a...
I honestly don't know why the birds are all over his head, but I can tell you this. There are no birds anywhere else. Not on the rest of his body, not on the pyramids, nowhere around there. They are all just sitting on his head. So, you come up with a theory of why that is, because I don't really know.
Because the ley lines and the frequency is charging that bird? I'm just kidding. I don't know. Maybe they was looking for a little shade. I don't know. I do enjoy a good anime like Attack on Titan. Drop your favorite anime or an anime you recommend in the comments below.
So in the Egyptian Museum, I came across this sarcophagus. The sarcophagus was kind of like a coffin for the ancient Egyptians. What amazed me about this one was the sheer work that had gone into it, and the sheer size of it compared to my hand. Look how thick it is, just on one side.
I had a roll of galvanized wire that's been hanging there for years. I said, well, galvanized wire conducts electricity, you know. I had some old bamboo, wrapped them, and I leave a little antenna here. And what it does is it takes the energy, certain kind of energy is conducted out of the ether, that's everywhere in the universe, conducts it into the soil. It adds a magnetic component to the soil that isn't in there without the antenna. Because the antenna grabs that, it does all sorts of beneficial things to the microorganisms in the soil. Whatever you're growing will become more productive, will grow more lush and more fruit, and well, you can make them 5 or 6 feet tall. So I just let them go. I just want my chives. I love my chives. I had a roll of galvanized wire that's been hanging there for years.
I also heard that you can activate a seed by placing it under your tongue, and your DNA will connect with your saliva with the seed, and the fruit or plant, whatever you're growing, will produce based on what your body needs. Just a theory, of course. Probably have the same expression as that last guy.
Pyramidan of Ramos. This artifact comes from the top of the tomb of the necropolis scribe. The Pyramidan is the sacred stone that crowned Egyptian pyramids and obelisks. Pyramidan of Ramos.
I can't even begin to wonder how people translate these. One looks like a owl/human, and the other one looks like a human on the left. What it says, I would love to know.
There's cubes showing up on the FAA weather cam. Cubes in the sky on this weather cam right here. And you can see them in the sky. There's one here and there's one here. You see them moving? We saw these cubes in large numbers, thousands of them in the Pacific Ocean also. They moving around and they cluster together. This is not pixels. These are the cubes. If you hear that there are cubes in the sky and someone's saying, oh, it's a fake alien invasion, it's Project Bluebeam, don't believe them. They do exist. See how they're moving? This one went here and there, and then watch what happens. They separate. And it was another camera that we saw it on too. Where was it at? It was this one right here. The same thing happened. This FAA weather cam. You see how there's two cubes right here? Watch what happens. See this one right here? It went up there. It went from here to here. It's the cubes. Do not believe them when they say it's fake. Don't believe them, you all. It's real. They're here. I wondered where they went, but this one is moving. And we do have UFO reports from years and years ago of black cubes. And these black cubes did have radiation associated with them. FAA weather cam, check it out. Check it out. The cubes are here. And they could be part of this drone. There's cubes showing up.
Well, add cubes to the list of drones, UAP, plasma balls, plasmoids. Add it to the list.
Guys, civilization has been reset a number of times through human history. The last major one being the Tartaria civilization. I really encourage you guys to research into this, where churches were used for very different things. These big, massive bells have all been destroyed. These used to be very common on all the churches. And as this meme says, that there were frequencies omitted that would veer off negative and demonic entities, but they were all recently destroyed over the last 100 years. Why is that? Also, the steeples in churches were used to harness free energy. So now we're paying for energy that we can just get out of the ether. But of course, it's all been destroyed and suppressed.
The question is how many resets happened? If you can't identify it, don't touch it.
An activity which has not greatly changed in the last 3,500 years since this vignette was painted on walking the dog. An activity which has not greatly changed in the last 3,500 years since this vignette was painted on the exterior of a cedar coffin. Egyptian Museum, Cairo.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, but you've got to blow very hard. Give it a try, Tim.
Well, it's made of brass, it's no quality, but I'll have a go. Here we go. Well.
Oh, yes.
I thought it was something else for a second.
Ooh, this is a very interesting one. So you see that pillar right in the center right there, that green pillar? Those are the gas light bulbs of San Francisco. And when this fire was happening in Los Angeles right now, those pillars still exist in Los Angeles, a couple of those ones with the little light bulbs right in the center underneath my finger. And those are still lighting up because there's gas underneath San Francisco and under Los Angeles. And this is all gone. None of these exist in San Francisco anymore. They said that these stone buildings caught fire and now they are all gone. And somebody said all the people are not in color. And I think that's an interesting thing too that you just said. That makes me wonder about something. And I don't even know how to put that into words, but it's awfully creepy. That's for sure. There's a movie where everybody's in black and white and then there's something in color. So that's kind of strange too. A little bit of color to their jackets, but that's another building as well. And what's interesting is there was water, an abundance of water in all these buildings. There was an abundance of electricity in all these buildings. The more you'd go back, the more electricity you would see. So there's another one. Very interesting. It looks almost like the Coliseum.
If you enjoyed that video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe because we do this every single day and I'd love to see you tomorrow. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today.